Hey YouTube, it's SiffaScary. So this video has been way overdue. I'm pretty sure I've made ones like it before, but this one is very specifically what to do if you self-injure, why people self-injure, how to cope with it, etc., etc. So let me give a shout out first of all to Blue Badger, who kind of laid it all out in a very simple way for me. I do have a degree in psychology, but it's nice having it all laid out like this, so I can just go through what Blue Badger wrote for me in one of my comments. So let's see what Blue Badger has to say on what self-injury is, how to quit, most importantly. Okay, Blue Badger says, it seems like some of you guys are having trouble breaking free from self-harm. Here's a few things that can make it easier. First of all, we're going to point out a few different things. One, why do we self-harm? Now, in my opinion, I'm going to read from Blue Badger and give my own opinion as well. Everyone has a different reason. You know, everyone has a completely different reason. You don't have to have a specific reason for it to be a problem, for it to be valid. You can have any reason why. For me, it was mostly out of self-hatred and anger and rage and rebelling against my parents. But what it comes down to is it's a way of dealing with stress, anger, frustration. It's a coping mechanism. It's like, for instance, how some people will, when they get upset, they grind their teeth. When some people get upset, they go work out and punch a punching bag. Well, some people, when they get upset, they hurt themselves. And it's an unhealthy coping mechanism. Also, Blue Badger here notes that it can become addictive, which is true in some ways. It's kind of controversial right now about whether it's addictive chemically or not. And by chemically, I mean in your brain like a drug. It's addictive psychologically, like you can become psychologically addicted to anything. And self-injury is addictive in that way because it releases certain endorphins in your brain, certain chemicals in your brain that do call for more and more and more intense and are addictive. So, that can be one reason why it's hard to quit. It could be hard to quit because you're actually addicted to it in a chemical and psychological way. So basically, what Blue Badger goes on to then say, one big cause is stress. You know, everyone goes through stress, and it's just learning how to deal with stress in your own way, because everyone has a different way of dealing with their own stress. So you need to think about what is in your life is causing you stress. You know, it could be a parent's divorce, it could be a relationship, it could be your life situation, it could be that you're in poverty or you're poor, or like your parents are poor. It could be that you're being bullied. There's lots of different causes of stress, and it's important to figure out which of these, identify these stressors and figure out which is causing you to self-injure. Worry, you know, worried about class, anything like that. But one thing that Blue Badger points out is that it's good to figure out what stresses you out so that you know how to handle with this stress when it comes rather than cutting yourself. And back to addiction with self-injury, self-harm for a lot of people brings a feeling of relief or release, and that feeling can be addictive. Now, I believe that, I don't know, for me, I feel like it was addiction as well as stress, because Blue Badger is saying that it can be either, or both at the same time, I think. Okay. Yeah, so what Blue Badger is saying is that this addiction is different than other types of addiction, different than drug addiction, but you do fight it in a similar way. Blue Badger says willpower. Now, I believe it's a lot more than willpower, because willpower implies some type of, like, inner power and strength, and I don't know, it implies something that, like, if you don't have willpower, you're weak. And I think that we all have willpower, and if you don't have it, it doesn't mean that you're weak. If you can't get better, it doesn't mean that you're weak, you know? But it means I think it just takes hard work. I think that hard work is what's at the core of beating an addiction. There's no easy way out of addiction. Keep telling yourself you want to be free and you are willing to work for it. Tell yourself that you're worth more than self-injury. You respect yourself and you love yourself more than to hurt yourself. Okay. So let's see self-harm part 2. Okay, so we talked about the whys and whats of self-harm, stress and addiction. So now we're going to talk about what to do to make it stop or to get better from it. So the first part that Blue Badger outlines is triggers. Now what triggers are is that we were talking about those stressors and the addiction, and the triggers are things that cause you to self-harm. A trigger, like, let's say for instance, like, when I was growing up, my parents fought a lot, and so now, today, when I'm an adult, if I hear, even on TV, like, a man and a woman arguing really loudly, it's kind of a trigger to me to, like, want to self-harm or to want to, like, you know, to feel bad. So a trigger is something that causes the desire to self-harm. Another trigger could be, like, if a lot of people have trouble with sexual abuse. And if you were like, let's say someone makes a rape joke, you know, and that could be a big trigger for you and make you want to hurt yourself, right? It could give you flashbacks and stuff. So, a really, really useful thing to do is identify your triggers. It can even be something very simple, like even just a smell. Like, let's say that, that you cut yourself and you went to the hospital, and so now every time that you smell like, you know, hospital smell, like cleaning solutions, it like triggers you to self-harm. It can be anything. It can be vague or it can be very specific, you know. But you have to identify your triggers and figure out what makes you want to hurt yourself. So that way you can not necessarily avoid them, but prepare for them and learn how to deal with them when they arise. Because if you know that something's coming up where you're going to be around your triggers or see your triggers or encounter them, then you can prepare for that in advance. So what you're going to want to do now, okay, the next part we're going to talk about how to deal with the triggers and how to deal with that. Once you've identified the triggers, you can learn how to deal with them. And one way you can deal with them is with distractions. Is probably the most common way that they teach you, and that's what Blue Badger says. So basically, because the urge is coming from inside your own brain, you need to put something in your brain to distract yourself and alleviate that desire. So, you know, you can do something, it's different for everyone, distractions and other coping mechanisms. Because cutting is a coping mechanism, so you need to find another coping mechanism to replace it. It could be like watching TV, working out, you know, punching a punching bag, taking a bath, taking a walk, writing in a journal. You need to make a list of like 10 of these distractions. If you're dealing with self-harm, you need to make a list of 10 distractions that you can do or coping mechanisms that you can do so that anytime that you feel the urge to self-injure, you look through this list and you try every single one. And if you still want to self-injure, then you have a list of 3 people that you can call at any time and any day. Have 3 people that you can call to talk to, or, you know, talk to online, and then you can and then agree with them that you can call them at any time and talk to them about your urges. And this can be your therapist, a teacher, a friend's parent, you know, a coworker, you know, it can be anyone. What I would mostly recommend would be exercise, because exercise actually releases the same brain neurotransmitters that self-injury does. And so exercise, and it's also a great stress reliever. And actually, sex is also, sex and masturbation is a very, I know it's kind of silly and whatever, but, you know, it's actually a very good coping mechanism. And I never really have tried it before, but I did like maybe a couple months ago, and I was really surprised that it worked really well for self-harm distractions and for getting over the urge to self-harm. You can also try online support groups, which I have done before, and they can be good. The problem with online support groups is that they can also, I think that they're not always the best, because I feel like sometimes people get stuck in their disorder, and they kind of get stuck together, and I would say maybe try to find a support group in your area with other teenagers or adults, however old you are, and maybe see if you could, because there's free support groups all over the country, in America, and all over the world. The National Alliance of the Mentally Ill, NAMI, N-A-M-I, has free support groups all over the country, And you should join one of those. I would recommend doing something in real life as opposed to online. But, you know, online support groups can be good too. You know, also, you need to have a good support group, is what Blue Badger is saying here. You need to be able to rely on your friends, family, you know, people that you can talk to. And one main thing that I struggled with is actually asking for help. You know, it's enough to, like, actually admit that you have a problem and, like, want to work on it. But the act of actually asking for help from a friend or a family member is incredibly difficult. But at the end of the day, you just have to tell yourself that it's worth it, and that you're worth it, and that you want to get over this, and you're not inconveniencing them, you're not bothering them, you're not, you know, annoying them. They want to help you. They want to take care of you, and they want to love you and help you, okay? So, one thing that Blue Badger didn't cover that I really wanted to talk about was positive self-talk. One of the keys to recovering from addictions and self-injury is called self-talk, or cognitive behavioral therapy. And what you do is you write down phrases that you're going to say, or you can call them mantras, phrases, that you're going to tell yourself in your head. Because one thing that causes self-harm is negative thoughts and negative feelings. So if you think in your head, I'm worthless, I'm fat, I'm ugly, everyone hates me, I'm a loser, then you're going to be more triggered to hurt yourself because you don't love yourself. So if you can replace those thoughts with positive thoughts, so every time you hear a negative thought, pay attention to it and replace it with a positive thought. So if you think, I hate myself, I'm ugly, I'm a loser, think, you know what? Maybe I'm not that bad after all. You know, I'm a good person, and I am pretty, and I'm good. I do a lot of good things, and I'm pretty, and I'm good. You know, whatever. I know that's kind of a lame example, but you need to challenge these negative thoughts, even if you don't believe it at first, because when I started changing my negative thoughts, I didn't believe a word I said in my head. I was like, I don't love myself. Why am I saying this? Why am I saying that I love myself? But if you say it enough, you will believe it and it will become true. It's like how they say fake it till you make it. It actually works because you're reprogramming your brain to say these positive things and to believe these positive things. So like if you're thinking like, so you need to write down a list of positive mantras. It can be, mine are, one of mine is, I love myself from my darkness to my light, from my head to my toes. I am the golden light of love in this universe. And so that's one that I say to myself for self-love. And you can write mantras like, you know, like, I love, honor, and respect myself. I am a good person. I love myself. I am loved. I am pure. I am kind. You know, things like that. Also, you can come up with a list of things that you like about yourself and look at these every day. And read these mantras every single day. Write out things that are positive and that counteract these negative thoughts. And then that's really the key to it. I would also recommend meditation. You can just go under iTunes or podcasts and Google meditations, like guided meditations. And trust me, those will help you so much. Like, that's really what got me through. That's what got me to where I am now, is meditations. And I can put a link to that up if you guys want me to. Anyway, sorry this video is so long. But I hope you guys got something out of it, okay? Love and peace. Bye.